Hello, my name is Anna Wright, and this is my favorite sensation and perception thing. Sorry about the very strange setup. So, what is my favorite sensation and perception thing? Well, I had a few, but a few runner ups included hearing, visual attention, and perceiving motion. But my favorite SMP thing is definitely taking action. So, what do you mean by taking action? These include things about how we're able to walk or exercise or do things like this.
And now it is time for Simone Biles.
She'll do the same vault that we just saw Jade Carey do. It's called a Cheng.
Alright, so Simone Biles had to retain certain motions in the sequence with very specific times in order to execute this pretty much flawlessly. But you get what I'm trying to say. We probably won't be able to do that, but. Well, what is it really? There are many different parts of taking action. Some include optic flow, visual direction strategy, and spatial updating, and definitely more. But I'll be going over these three in the presentation. So, optic flow. The explanation of optic flow in shorter terms is that this helps us visually understand our placement or image motion, where we are in relation to things like trees, buildings, and other people. Some things are always changing because of the different parts of the retina being stimulated. Optic flow is our safety warnings. So, optic flow is like the visual discrimination that keeps us safe so we can remain alert. So, walking. In order to do something like walking, we use a visual direction strategy, and people naturally keep their bodies turned towards their end goal while walking or really doing anything like sports, baseball, softball, football, and a lot of other things. Spatial updating is also heavily used. This is the way people use to like track their own position in their environment. This is because of the position of objects relative to our body when we are moving. So everything around us is moving as well. And while I was going through this chapter again, I really did realize how much we are constantly looking out for ourselves, whether we are aware of it or not. So when it comes to landmarks, we naturally look for things in nature that give us a cue as to where we are. Reportedly, we spend less time trying to remember the course and more time trying to look for significant objects along it. And moving on to cognitive maps. Cognitive maps are compared to the brain's GPS system, or a mental layout of the area. And there is an area near the hippocampus referred to as the grid cells. Grid cells are neurons that are in grid-like patterns. Grid cells. These go off when in an area to help us realize our surroundings. So, interacting with objects, I'll be going over all three: reaching and grasping, lifting and tilting, and adjusting. So, with reaching and grasping, using our ventral and dorsal pathways show us the what, where, how in action. For example, if our ventral pathways gets damaged, we won't be able to recognize objects like I have a water bottle, well, a Gatorade bottle here. I wouldn't be able to realize what it is if my ventral pathway was destroyed. And we use a certain lobe in our brain which heavily processes sensory information. The parietal lobe, I always mispronounce it, apologize. But when it comes to lifting and tilting, we have to use our predictions to account for many different parts of lifting and tilting objects. So is it heavy? Is it full? Is it broken? And the size weight illusion is predicting weights, but having the bigger object weigh less and the smaller option weigh more. So if we were to lift, like we couldn't see inside this, if it were full, I would use a lot more force to pick it up. But since it's empty, if I picked it up with the same amount of force, I would fling it somewhere. That's basically what that is. But when it comes to adjusting, however, a corollary discharge tells us about the force we need to exert and the time we need to do it. So it kind of goes along with the lifting and tilting. So that's actually the end of my presentation, and there's definitely a lot more to be talked about, but this is a shorter presentation. And yeah, thank you for for watching.